Hi, everybody. Uh, I am a hopeless, lost soul. Um, I want to talk about All This Time by Sting, okay? Um, All This Time is the perfect song, okay? I I am separating the art from the artist here. You know, I know people don't like this guy. I'm not particularly a fan of his personality or whatever. I don't know. I don't hate him either. Like I don't I'm just analyzing the art, and all this time my Sting is perfect synthesis of sort of highfalutenness and also like reflection and common sense, and just I think that's what songwriting is. It's the confluence of folksiness as well as higher ideas and emotions. And that's All This Time by Sting. It's one of my favorite songs. It's very joyful. That's the thing. You think when you think of Sting solo stuff or kind of nerdy music that it's kind of sad and weird, like Weezer, and, just kind of off-putting, but it's extremely inviting. Is All This Time. So he starts off with I looked out across the river today, saw something in the river, and blah blah blah. Where the seagulls play. I should pull up the lyrics. I need to be more prepared for this stuff, I guess. Um, I'm not going to take myself too seriously, though. It's not even the first song that comes up when you look up All This Time. Um, Sorry, I've had a rough month. I don't know where you go with the art life when you're approaching 30 and you're not successful. That's the that's the question I'm asking myself. And Sting was successful my age, very successful. It all comes down to how you look. I really do think that. Sadly, and I knew this when I was 18. That's the sad part is, I do look pretty good when I'm thin and trying to look good. I did when I was 18, 20. Early 20s. COVID screwed me. I sat in a room and the more your social conditions deteriorate, the worse you're gonna look. And everything is based on looks. I'm just thinking, you probably don't get hired just because you don't look good these days. But it's I don't agree with it, right? Because it's not Christian in a way. Looks it's like something you'd see in like Sodom and Gomorrah or like Babylon, like, and the devil appeared with sheep's clothing, right? So anyway, this has nothing to do with All This Time by Sting. I'm just pulling up the words. Um, yeah, I don't know, but you having bad coworkers and working somewhere you don't want, and the people behind the desk are always ugly, right? The people with the good jobs are good looking. That's what I noticed. But I'm kind of somewhere in the middle because I'm not bad looking, but I'm fat as hell, right? So people don't know what to do with me is the problem. They think I'm some kind of idiot. They think I'm some kind of fat loser. And then they hear me talk and they see my riz and all my sort of charms. And then they're like, oh, what do we do with this guy? So that's kind of where I'm at in life. I'd pretty much be unstoppable if I was still thin, but I don't care enough either. Like trying to like sit around and count calories, and it's such bitch shit. It's such bitch shit. Like that's what I mean. I mean, it turns you gay. It turns you kind of weird. It turns you mentally ill above all else. And yeah, I maybe I'm just an old soul, right? So I'm listening to Sting here. It's the only thing. I don't know if anyone's listening to this kind of stuff. I only really care about music. I only really care about I don't know. Because as an artist, right, you start to doubt yourself, or as some kind of creative, you start thinking, they like to sort of throw stuff at you and be like, yeah, well, you're only into art and culture because you're too much of a pussy or too much of a loser to, uh, learn math or science or a real skill. Like that's why you're into it, because you have your trauma and you're playing it out. And then it's like you can go through life and like I do look at life through an analytical sort of autistic lens where I ask myself these things and I see if that's true in practice. I see, okay, I'll try to do some math. I'll try to do some journalism, serious journalism. I'll try to become involved in things I don't really like, office work, real estate, whatever. And then it's like, no, I am just really good at talking about culture, right? And that's what I'm good at, right? And it's not anything that trauma or sort of self aggrandizement has led me to. It's just the truth, right? And that's the hardest thing for other people to swallow, because they tell you, oh, they get jealous that you're good at such a thing, or you like such a thing, or you're involved in such a thing. And they also, try and drag you down to their level. And also, nobody knows what to do with you, right? People know what to do with a accountant. Okay, nobody knows what to do with somebody in the art life. Okay, you're meant to be a rebel. You could get in big trouble if you're not careful. So anyway, so Sting, yeah, 26 years old. Sting hits it off with the police. Great life. If you could have had one life on Earth, you'd probably want to be Sting, right? Just a incredible life. Not anything has gone wrong in Sting's life, apparently. And I hate to hear these guys talk about their parents. It's like, my daddy was mean to me. Like, Gordon, if the only thing wrong in my life is that my daddy was mean to me, then I think I'd be pretty happy, right? So yeah, whatever. Okay, we're gonna talk about the music, and I can't kill my personality, right? I can't be some kind of guy who sits and I write for Rolling Stone, and here's the, maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. I don't know. I'm sick of killing my personality. I tried it. I tried writing papers for college. I tried, joining up with serious companies and serious people, and it's a drag knowing you could do better on your own. So Sting, and all this time, I looked out across the river today, saw a city in the fog and an old church tower where the seagulls play. Okay, imagery, nice little imagery there. So the sad Shire horses walking home. So some kind of old medieval imagery there, Shire, right? What's a Shire, right? It's a type of horse, I suppose. And, it sounds old timey, right? Lincolnshire, Worcestershire, right? Old towns, Gloucestershire. Yeah. So it's got this kind of medievally thing going on there. In the sodium lights, okay? What is that, right? The sodium light. That's a very cool. The thing about poetry and good poets is that they do not actually have rules that they write by, right? So sodium light, that doesn't make sense. The point of creative writing that is good, and I can't do journalism because I'm too creative, right? I like using words. I mean, maybe you sit at the desk of a paper and you're like, hey man, I've been here, and there's such fucking assholes about this shit too. Like, if you want to do an op-ed, or they're so egotistical, man. Like, fuck, it's so many egos in everything you do these days. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to use a word, not even that, but if the dumber you are, the further you'll go in life. So if you want to read between the lines and use kind of weird verbiage and play around with words, you can't write for a paper or any of that shit. It's the most dull, dry writing. The better you are, right? So creative writing, it's preferred. I wish you could be creative with words in public life, but most people read at the level of like a 6-year-old. So anyway, I'm just burnt out on this, so I'm telling you about it. In the sodium lights. So that doesn't make sense. That's what I'm trying to say. What is a sodium light, right? But it's all feeling. It's just a feeling that you have. It's an intuition. And I get it, right? When you go in the sun, you get dehydrated quicker. You get hotter. It hits your skin. You start getting hotter. It kind of kills. It's a disinfectant like salt. So you get it, right? It's like this sodium light, this salty light. You're not that happy to be in the light either. It's kind of salty, It's not it hits you and you're like, oh, what's that? So sodium light makes sense. Okay, to me it makes sense. Maybe there's some hidden other meaning. I don't know. Maybe that's a type of light in science I don't know about. But to me, it just sounds cool, and it makes sense to me because the character is kind of like bittersweet in this. The light is kind of annoying, and it's drying him out. It's revealing the truth. So sodium light. That's the kind of writing that they don't teach you, right? To use that word there. Who the fuck's going to teach you that, right? Who's going to teach you to use a near meaning? That's not a near rhyme, right? That's a near meaning. I don't know if that's even I'm making the term, right? It's a near meaning. It kind of means what it says. And this is the opposite of journalist. This is why I can't be a fucking journalist, because I'll kill all these instincts I have for creative writing. A near meaning. Very cool, though. And you could write like this in public. People are so fucking dumb that you can't. You can't be good with words. They fucking crucify you if you're good with words. Only like 10 people in the New York Times can be good with words, right? That's it. TV news, can't be good with words. Any kind of writing, maybe Variety, even then, right? Variety, Rolling Stone, maybe at Rolling Stone you can be creative with words, but most of it, Deadline. I'm thinking, what is even left? Who reads, right? Nobody reads. It's bad, man. It's bad. Anyway, two priests on a ferry, October geese on a cold winter's night. So yeah, it's not a happy scene really, but it's not. The music along with it is happy music. It's a very bittersweet song. It's very cool in that way because it has a strange emotion to it. So October geese on a cold winter's night and the sodium light, right? So the light and the cold, it's a melancholy thing. All this time, the river flowed endlessly to the sea. So you have this very simple refrain, and he's doing these very complicated verses, right? So there's a lot going on in the verses, and the verses are filled with words, filled with descriptions. But then you kind of go back to earth. You kind of get back to the center there with all this time, the river flowed endlessly to the sea. And so it creates the sense of timelessness. That's the chorus of, well, actually, this is all very stable, right? It sounds chaotic, it sounds exciting, and it sounds like there's a lot going on, but it's all kind of tied together by this endlessly flowing to the sea, this river in the scene. Okay, so two priests came round our house tonight, one young, one old, to offer prayers for the dying, to serve the final rites. So it's this happy, happy music. It's the happiest Sting song. It sounds even happier than the Police, even though the Police had, those poppy melodies and everything. It's a very happy song, but it's like about his dad dying. So it's very strange, and it creates this interesting mood to it. Two priests came around our house tonight, one young, one old, to offer prayers for the dying, to serve the final rites. Okay, so the story's kind of starting there. We're meeting these priests. They're coming to help, okay? One to learn, one to teach, which way the cold wind blows, and fussing and flapping in priestly black like a murder of crows. So again, there's a lot of words, right? There's a lot of words going on, a lot of descriptions. And back to the earth imagery, even though we're talking about these priests, they're like birds now. They have these black robes on. They're in the wind. Very earthy nature imagery again, lots of words, okay? And then we go back to the refrain. All this time, the river flowed endlessly to the sea. And then we get this new refrain. If I had my way, I'd take a boat from the river and I'd bury the old man. I'd bury him at sea. So he's kind of saying, I don't want the priests here. I'd rather go bury this guy in the ocean where he wants to be. Okay. So again, it's a lot of nature imagery. Lots of stuff going on with nature. Or then he goes into this high voice that's like, there's an astrological configuration called Mars conjunction Pluto, and a lot of prominent musicians have it, specifically from this era. And you hear it in Sting's voice when he sings. Springsteen also has. I actually have the same horoscope as Springsteen um, and Sting. I'm Libra Libra with Mars conjunction Pluto. You know who else had that? Very strange. Charlie Kirk. You can look that up. Very, very weird. I think also like Bernie Mac or some shit. I don't know. But I know those specifically about music though. I don't know how Charlie Kirk fits into that, but maybe if he sang, he would have sounded like this. You can hear it in Sting's voice when he says that line though. It's a very powerful sort of vocal conjunction, and you get a lot of strength and sort of soul in your voice with it. Sam Cooke had it. Sam Cooke is like the best example of this astrological configuration. It's pretty rare, and usually singers have it, so it's interesting. And Sting has it. You can hear when he says that. If I had my way, it's always on the really like tension, painful line. He says like, if I had my way, and it's like gets your attention. So the guys, there's a tension with these priests. Blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the earth. Better to be poor than be a fat man in the eye of a needle. I guess I'm the fat man, right? Yeah, you can't be very clutch when you're fat. That's true. But yeah, he's saying, bringing in the religious imagery. It's very classic, timeless imagery. Lots of nature, lots of religion. You could listen to the song 200 years in the past, probably 200 years in the future. Still a good song, right? And that's what's good about it. It's timeless, right? More timeless than the fucking morning paper, right? Anyway, yeah, you can tell I'm bitter yet. But yeah, it's timeless. That's the difference between art and fast food. Fast food journalism, right? Fast food shitty novels that your mom reads, right? Fast food girl slop porn novels. Magazines, that's the difference in quality is timelessness. And there's a lot of timeless imagery in all this time. So as these words are spoken, I swear I hear the old man laughing. What good is a used up world, and how could it be worth having? Like, what is that line, right? And that's what's crazy about it is this. There's actually a Bukowski interview, and Bukowski says, "Your line should be bim bim bim. Your line should be bim bim bim. Every line has a tasty morsel in it," and he's totally right because that's what this is here. You're getting bim bim bim. You're getting just like ultimate. Like someone could write some idiot, some moron who with less talent and more nerdiness and neuroticism could write a whole paper on just that line, right? What does he mean by that? God, what is he saying there? What good is a used up world, and how could it be worth having? And you can tell when someone's writing. Like, there's that album with Julian Casablancas, the one where it's like he tries to be like highfalutin and it just sucks. And he's like, girls like to eat hot dogs and boys like to eat burgers. What is the world and where do I fit in? And it's just like you're trying to sound deep. You don't actually have anything deep to say. And don't get me wrong, I like Julian Casablancas. Occasionally he does have deep lines, but it was like awful on that one album, First Impressions of Earth. It's like, dude, stop trying to be deep if you're not that deep. But Sting here, he masterfully puts this line that really does, when you think about it, hit home. It's like, what good is a used up world, and how could it be worth having? So that's referring back to the previous line too. Blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the earth. And I mean, you could go into a lot of things with that. Is that about the world ending? Is it climate and AI? Is it about people taking the resources of the world? Is it just the world is getting older, and once the poor inherit it, it's because it'll be destroyed? And just kind of peasant wisdom of like, well, you could rule the world, but you'll still be miserable, right? So his elderly dad is saying that he's dying in his head. So as these words were spoken, I swear I heard the old man laughing. What good is a used up world, and how could it be worth having? And I asked myself that line a lot. I'm like, well, you know, even if you are in a powerful position in the world, things are so corrupt. And that's what I think when I hear the word used up. It's like, 1960, things were kind of happy go lucky, growing. Everything was kind of growing in 1960 and before, and et cetera. And now only a few things are growing. And it's like, okay, I could be in charge of ABC or Target, and then what good would that be if it's already a used up thing, Um, because there's no innovation that you can really have control over anymore because there's so many historical legacy things. So what good, you're going to inherit the earth. And I think about this in my generation. What are you inheriting but a used up world, right? It's a used up world. It's, there's not much left to extract from the people, right? There's not much innovation you can do within the confines of the system as it is. So that's what you're inheriting, So there's a lot to pick on with the line. It's a good line. You're inheriting something that is worth less. The world in reality is worth less than it was when you were a kid. At least speaking about America and things. And that's probably not what he's thinking about. He's talking about whole universal things of, it's a crummy world. It's kind of melancholy, the line. It's, it's a crummy world anyway. It is like, yeah, you rule the world, but it's a crummy world, right? Look at all those movies with, the king, you got what you want. There's a character in The Wire, the guy who becomes mayor, and they tell him, you're mayor now, man, and you worked so hard to become the mayor, but they give him a plate on his first day, and they're like, you know what the mayor's job is? It's to eat shit. So it's like a joke, and then they just put a pile of shit in front of him, and they're like, time to eat shit, man, because that's like the job of the mayor, is just to take shit from people. So yeah, it's kind of a melancholy line. Like, even if you rule in the world, it still kind of sucks. So it's a cool line. It's a lot to think about. So all this time, river flowed endlessly to the sea, endlessly like a silent tear. Cool line, right? What's a silent tear? It's sad. It's kind of a sad song, but the sonics are very happy, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, like a silent tear. He changes the line. And this song doesn't follow a structure necessarily. It is kind of like its own structure, which is cool. Like I can't, it's hard to identify the single chorus. All this time the river flowed endlessly like a silent tear. All this time the river flowed. Father, if Jesus exists, then how come he never lives here? So it's about doubting God as well. And yeah, you end up, so Father, if Jesus exists, then how come he never lives here? And it's just kind of a thoughtful, provoking line. It's like, okay, if Jesus exists, then, and it's, this song is very tied to place. I think it's about like the north of England, right? So if Jesus exists, then how come he never lives here, right? And I feel that line because I have been stuck in the Midwest after I saw my whole country, massive US country, in my early 20s. And I feel like God's abandoned me, right? I feel like God has abandoned the Midwest. I feel like God has abandoned me by making me live here, or, letting the decisions happen that led me to this. So yeah, I get the line, like, if Jesus exists, then like, where is he here? We live in this sad place. And you know, it's just a line about the whole like Catholic Christian religion. It's like, well, you're worshiping this guy who lives in the desert, right? And it's weird because he lives in the desert and we live here. So if Jesus exists, I'm like, where is he, right? And you can't see him. That's the thing. This professor, good guy, he suggested to me to read something by Gogol or something. It was like waiting for God. It was like, uh, yeah, I think it's called, the translates like waiting for God. It might have been by somebody else. I don't know. But there's this play. It might be like Samuel Beckett, not Gogol. I don't know. But it's like, no, waiting for Godot. And that means like God. So like everybody's waiting around for God, but they can't find him. So, you know, it's an existential question. Father, if Jesus exists, then how come he never lives here? Um, you know, so he's going back to his childhood. It's very deep and, uh, you know, emotionally deep. It's like, well, my dad told me to believe in God and now he's dying. And like, where is God now? And that's what my dad wanted, right? So yeah, it's a cool line. And then we get to teachers told us, this is like the bridge. It changes key, I think, here. So, and it still has just like a ton of energy, right? It's not like a sad song at all sonically, which is cool. You know, that's a good thing. Because if this was like a sad song with these lyrics, it'd be like too sad. So, you know, if you can like keep up with the song mentally, you know, some people might not like it because they can't keep up with what's being said, but it's quick and happy, and it's like walking through Rome. I mean, this song feels Italian to me. I listened to and Sting is Italian in a very real sense. He like lives in Italy half of his time now, and he's kind of like an adopted Italian now, and he's been doing that for like 20 years. But it reminds me of Nanini. You know, you listen to, I mean, you know how Italians talk. It's like quick, but it's smart, right? Like they're not dumb. And I hate, that's what I mean. I work with like Anglos and Germans and stuff, and it's like they want you to be accurate and slow. And it's like, I interrupt people, you know, I interrupt people. I talk quickly, but it's not dumb, right? I'm not being dumb. I'm just thinking quicker than a lot of people. And that's how the song feels. It's like walking through Rome and some guy's talking about, you know, Caesar, and another guy's talking about Jesus, and they're telling you to buy a bouquet of flowers. You know, it's a cool song. So it feels very Roman. It feels very like Nanini. Nanini is a very cool alternative artist from Italy. I don't know much about Italian popular music, but her music does sound like this, where it's very verbal and it packs a lot quickly. Um, yeah, so teachers told us the Romans built this place. They built a wall and a temple, and on the edge of the empire, a garrison town. So garrison town, it's like their fort, and that's like the history of England. You know, the Romans got to England, and his dad's dying, and he's like reflecting on all this like history around him, which is like, why are you doing this when your dad's dying? And it's like, you know, it's like timelessness, and like it feels very universal, right? It's like an otherworldly feeling to it of like universality of like, well, my dad's dying, but this place has survived the Romans and it survived all this and Jesus, so I guess everything will be fine, right? So I mean, that's a people with a history. You don't get that much in the U.S., right? But you know, uh, I have a lot to say. I can't even breathe outside right now, so I have a lot to say about the U.S. Yeah, so teachers told us the Romans built this place. They built a wall and a temple on the edge of the empire, a garrison town. They lived and they died. They prayed to their gods, but the stone gods did not make a sound, and their empire crumbled. All that was left were the stones the workmen found. So, in addition to the history thing, we're getting back into the religion thing with this, and a lot of the song is about questioning God, right? And now he talks about the Roman gods. He's not talking about Jesus anymore. He's talking about the Roman gods and the Romans who prayed to their gods in the same place, right? So the Romans were praying to their gods there, as well as the Christians were praying in the same part of England. And it's very fatalistic. It's like, yeah, and then nothing help them. So he's kind of doubting that his dad's going to heaven or something. And I mean, his dad's dying, so he's like, oh, where's my dad going, right? So that's kind of what that's about. And it's got this cool little historical thing about the Roman, and the teachers told us, right? So it's very folksy. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not like if you wrote that line and you just said the Romans lived here and they built a town, like it kind of lands, but by saying it's kind of weird though, right? So by saying like the teachers told us the Romans built this place, it's like that's my childhood. That's who told me it. It's a little more easy to go down, right? It's a more palatable line that way. So then we get the chorus. All this time, the river flow. I'll be right back. I'm going to continue with this later. One second. Sorry. I'm currently in the world's worst air area in the world right now. Not exactly, but just south of it. I think people are going to die today. This is bad. There should be a better plan than just like, oh, stay indoors. Like, this is bad. My throat started hurting. Anyway, I'm gonna try to finish this video. I don't know what to do about this. People, it just feels like hopeless, defeated. Like, this is bad. Like everybody's breathing this in, and I doubt anybody's gonna do anything about it. And I don't know. People are gonna die. Like, this is like a Hurricane Katrina level event here. Anyway. So I'm just going to finish the video here. Yeah, all this time the river flowed in the falling light of a northern sun. Yeah, so back to the nature imagery. Northern sun, I guess that refers to England. Pretty cool. If I had my way, I'd take a boat from the river. Okay. Back to the river thing. Men go crazy in congregations. They only get better one by one. One by one, one by one, one by one. And then he just brings back the first line. So there's not a linear song here. It's very earthy, but also very spiritual. So he says kind of his last piece on sort of the nature of people as well as the nature of time, right? Bringing back the first verse, just to say that it continues. Things are going to continue in this certain way. If I had my way, I'd take a boat from the river. Men go crazy in congregations. They only get better one by one, one by one, one by one. And he's talking to his dad. He's talking about history, men in general, the people of history, and ties it together nicely. He talks about all of history, right? Men go crazy in congregations. They only get better one by one. It's mysterious, too. I don't know what that line means, right? And that's fine, right? It's okay that I don't know what it means, but it makes you think still. That's the only line that I think is a little bit weird in the song, not that strong. But it's mysterious and weird enough that it's interesting. And it does make you think. So, yeah, men go crazy in congregations. You only get better one by one. And I think tying in the father thing to it makes it make a lot more sense. So it's a cool song. I would listen to it. That's my analysis. Thank you guys. I hope I can survive the night because I don't know if I can breathe in here. That's just wonderful, right? All right. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.